Укренерго is a state company and one of the biggest companies in Ukraine. We have about 13,000 employees, and we are natural monopoly for transmission of electricity to all territory of Ukraine. And the problem and non-effectiveness of this company is the same as for any other state company in Ukraine. Very big problem is the same as in other authorities, state authorities, is the corruption. And another big problem, we worked last 20 years in non-market model. It's two big problems. One for all citizens of Ukraine, and second problem is big problem for business in Ukraine. What I mean when I said non-market model. We have market, but it's not a market as rules for everybody, the same rules. Electricity market in Ukraine was one pilot market. Only one state company buys all electricity that produced in our country and then sell it to distribution company. And it's a very big problem for business because rules for starting business is not transparent. We haven't market operation with nearest countries. Last 3 years we can't work with Russian Federation. But de facto we integrated in this one system with Russia, with Belarus, Moldova, and other countries, inside countries. But de facto we haven't coupled market. And we haven't coupled market with European countries. Last 15 years in our country starts a lot of different programs. How can we connect with European power grid, with ENSOI organization, and all this process was stopped. Once, second time, third time, because of position of our eastern partner, eastern neighbor, when speaking about Russia, about position of some politics in Ukraine. So, state companies was like a private business for some politics. Because possibilities to earn some money from state companies, very big possibilities. So our first challenge 1 year ago when I started to work as a head of this company was to stop corruption in procurement, because it's the most easiest way to earn some money from state company. Since last year, we reduced prices in procurement twice. Twice. More than 45% was corruption part in all our procurement. It was the first big challenge. It was necessary to hold management. More than 20 high manager positions was changed during last year, and we need to change hundreds more. We started to find good professionals on our market. And now we have very small team of new people who want and who can change state company. It's internal part of our activities, external part. We need to corporatize our company, because now we have only one owner, Ministry of Energy and Coal Industry in Ukraine, and position of all our partners, international national organization, European Commission, Energy Secretariat, is a strong position to form independent supervisory board in each state company. Because we are one of the biggest companies in Ukraine, I think and I hope that we will be first or maybe second or third company in Ukraine who can have independent supervisory power, and it's our goal for nearest 6 months, because new market law, new market legislation, I think will be adopted next month, and since 6 months after that, we can change our structure of managing state company and first will be. So, first challenge was for us is to stop corruption in state procurements, because we're state owned and state procurement. Second, the challenge is to change market models, and we work hard with Secretariat of Energy Community. Mr. Kovacchuk can speak about it much more than me, because he is in this process last maybe 3 or 4 years, as I remember, much more than me personally. And competition, it's a main thing that must be implemented for state companies. Competition, because competition in procurements among our bidders, among our contractors, was that point after implementing. Sorry,
I'm going to interrupt you at the end of the sentence. So competition.
We started competition with our bidders, with our contractors, with our suppliers, and now we have a very good result. Reduced price twice prices, and competition in the market can reduce price for electricity in Ukraine and can start new possibilities for all business to go through this market and finalize all process that we have now in our electricity system.
Okay, thank you. So this is the overall picture of the reforms that we've attempted, tried, and gone through with so far. We're going to, in the second round, we're going to ask, put some water into that wine too, and ask questions that why this may not be working the way it should. I would like to ask Mr. Kovacchuk. I'd like to talk about psychology. It's the psychology of new ideas, new thoughts, new people. That needs new structures as well. How could anti-corruption fight look like in your part of the industry?
Because speaking about corruption, it's different types of corruption in state authorities like policia or the other authorities and state companies. It's different. The difference is because corruption and problems with authorities like the police, like the policia, people can see. People, each person can be touched to this corruption. Corruption in big state companies, and not in big state companies, is much more internal thing. But a result of this corruption, it's non-efficiency for all economics of country. Each euro or hryvnia that we spend for some equipment, for some equipment maybe. Every one of us that pay in bread, in some services, in fuel, in electricity, this euro. So we have corruption, had corruption, and have now in economic. Because this pen I can pay for this pen €1 or I can pay 10 euros. If you pay for this pen as a person, as a citizen, it doesn't matter maybe for you, what you want. But 20 or 30 years, each state company pays for everything twice or 3 times or 4 times. And the price for all other goods in our country, it's electricity in the price of bread, fuel in the price of bread. We have a lot of employees in the state companies, a lot of companies. So we have a lot of very poor citizens. But think about it. The head of procurement department in one of the biggest state companies, Укренерго, 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, his salary was 400 euros. He takes his head's procurement for 150 million euros per year. But his salary was 400 euros. It's impossible, because everybody knows that he don't work only for his salary. Everybody knows. But nobody fighting it. Nobody. I was the first maybe who changed all procurement people, all procurement employees, and we found it from the external market. We used services from talent advisors company, big company for recruiting, and we found a lot of people who can be honest. Our corruption in state companies, we can't see it every day, but we every day pay much more for all services, all goods in our country. In the case of corruption.
Can I ask a stupid question? We're having this discussion in Germany, of course. We talk about the salary of, for example, deputies in parliament and whether they should earn more so that like people who are used to having a lot of money would be willing to go into politics as well. Transferring that question to Ukraine. Imagining we would raise the salary of the boss of Naftogaz or Укренерго or whatever to €1,000 or 1,500 euros, and then looking at the declarations and seeing that they've got that lots of those people have got 12 Rolexes, 50 I don't know, apartment buildings, wine collections, and churches. Wow. So I mean that would not really make a difference, right? Whether they earn 50% more, 100% more, it's still not enough to compensate for all the money that they get the other way around.
I said before, it's only one of the problem, yeah? Because here is a lot of non-effectiveness. If we're speaking about salary, we speak about number of employees in company. Yeah? I was today morning in Austrian power grid operator. They have only 450 employees in company, but I have in Укренерго 13,000.
You're a lucky man.
No, I'm not a lucky man. Because maybe in 10 or 12 years, I must have about 1,500 employees in my company. And it's a very big social problem, yeah, to hire so much people. That will be a big problem. But if we're speaking about salary, we must have market salary in our company. Market salary. Even in Ukrainian human resources market, salary for top manager is much more than official salary in state companies. Much more. So if somebody wants to work in state company for 500 or for 400 euros, what we can think about this person, man, he don't want to have only salary, he want to have much more. Yeah? And it's first part. The second part, we need to have effective control. Now we have a project with Transparency International and International Initiative Cost with Укренерго to control our procurement, to control our chemical construction, and we will be, now we are transparent, but we will be much more transparent. And all Ukrainian state companies need to have, as I said before, independent supervisory board and control from the associate. Without this control, without this transparency, we can do nothing. Yeah. Even if we have 5 or 10 honest people in all system of Ukrainian state companies, it's not enough to change system.
Mr. Kovacik, transparency from society. What else? What structural reforms have been done?
Yeah, when we talk about cheating in public procurement, I mean, of course it's a problem, but I think the bigger problem is so-called systemic corruption, which is part of the system. So I will tackle the gas issue and the electricity issue. Gas is reformed, electricity not yet. In gas, for example, for years there was a very well-developed system of corruption, which was based on the following facts. Some consumers got very cheap gas, which was mostly or produced in Ukraine or imported by Naftogaz as gas incumbent, and other consumers had to pay or had to buy gas on a market, which was of course up to 7-8 times more expensive. than the gas which was sold under regulated prices. And of course, some owners of consumers that got gas under regulated prices were also owners of consumers which had to buy gas on the market. And so they transferred inside themselves this, and of course it was a perfect possibility for a very lucrative job.
Very usual scheme too.
Very usual. Another one was transfer of money. So Russian gas is transferred through Ukraine towards West. Currently, Naftogaz receives approximately 2 billion euros for this transit, and this 2 billion euros, only 25% of this money goes into transmission system operator. Currently, still. 25 goes approximately for taxes, 25 remains in Naftogaz to cover subsidies which still exist in cross-border, cross-subsidization inside Naftogaz, and 25 go for some credit which was given, I think, that by Gazprom Bank in the past. So it's a big rent which was always attracting a lot of I would say wishes. Okay, but this is now mostly over in gas sector.
To the future, what has to happen?
Yeah. So there was market liberalization, there was abolishment of regulated prices, which were of course preferable for some consumers and unpreferable for some others. In the electricity sector, we have completely different situation. There is, for example, energy regulator just recently established a system where they still regulate prices of coal which is used for production of electricity. And they introduced new formula, which is called Rotterdam plus 10. So the price of Ukrainian coal is paid under conditions of Rotterdam Stock Exchange, plus 10% for the transport from Rotterdam to Ukraine, despite it is only inside Ukraine. Another case is, for example, the export from so-called Bushkin Island. There is a small part of Western Ukraine which is synchronized with Central European synchronous area, and which can trade with Slovakia and Hungary, and quite a lot of electricity is exported from this so-called Bushkin Island, and this electricity, you will not believe, is subsidized. So the rich Ukrainian electricity consumers have to pay export subsidy for somebody who is exporting electricity from so-called Bushkin Island towards West. Since all the prices, everything in the electricity sector is regulated, of course, it is very important who has an influence on the regulator, who regulates the prices, and of course makes life of somebody miserable or luxurious. And this still goes on. So it's a system which has to be abolished by introduction of so-called third energy package compliant electricity market law, with establishment of the market and so on, what hopefully will happen in the next 2 to 3 years, if the law will be adopted now in December or in January. This is so-called systemic corruption.
Okay.
Question which is not just about corruption, but about the effects of the energy market reform. Namely, it is probably an attempt to go towards European EU legislation or principles of it, which can be sustainable and so on. But what is of vital importance for Ukraine is the question how vulnerable still it is to the possibilities of blackmail, for instance, of gas. What will be the consequences, possible consequences of Nord Stream 2? What will be the consequences of an agreement with Erdogan on Turkish Stream and so on? Is Ukraine now less vulnerable, or is it still highly vulnerable with respect to gas? Taking into account the whole energy market for it.
The two of you answer shortly, please.
Perhaps I will offer some data. So Ukraine is decreasing gas consumption enormously, up to almost around 30% in the last 2 years. This is partly due to Donbass, which is not Ukrainian consumer, unfortunately, anymore. This is partly because of bankruptcy of many companies, but it is also because of the changed behavior of energy consumers. Only households, for example, decreased gas consumption in 1 year from 2015 to 2016 for 2 billion cubic meters. This is, for example, just to, it's a consumption of the whole Croatia, for example, or something similar. So things are happening. And what is most important, Ukraine is increasing its own gas production, which is currently around 20 billion cubic meters, and could in, let's say, 5-6 years become self-sufficient with the gas. Currently, all the gas which is imported from western border. So I think that this week, exactly this week, is 365 days since Ukraine is not buying even a single cubic meter of gas from Russia. So things are really changing in gas sector.
If you're speaking about electricity market, you need to understand that without implementing third energy package, we can speak about disconnecting from Russia power grid and connecting to European power grid. It's the first step. Of course, it will take a lot of years, maybe several years, but without going to new market model, without changing rules in our market, we can't move forward into Europe. So it's our goal.